We know life is busy. That's why saving money should be effortless. With Atlantic Union Bank's Roundup Savings, every time you use your debit card, your purchase rounds up to the nearest dollar and automatically goes into savings. So whether you're grabbing coffee, filling the tank, or picking up groceries, you're saving without even thinking about it. It's just one of the ways Atlantic Union Bank makes managing your money easy. Learn more at atlanticunionbank.com or stop by a branch today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
In a country that never stops moving, reliable energy is essential. People need oil and natural gas for heating, transportation, and everyday items like clothing, cell phones, and contact lenses. Behind the scenes, one of America's largest pipeline operators, Energy Transfer, works all day, every day to transport the energy that our communities depend on. Energy Transfer invests in modern infrastructure as technologies like AI drive greater need for reliable natural gas. Learn more at energytransfer.com.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
Make scent part of your back-to-school routine with Pura. Take 15% off their smart fragrance diffusers, including the Pura Home Mini, perfect for dorm life, or Pura Car for your commute. Try an energizing scent for the morning routine and wind down with a relaxing fragrance at the end of the day. It's the simplest way to reset for the season. Shop the sale at Pura.com.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month. Even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to day 8 of 14 Days of Summer Fear. I have 4 stories to share today, and I'll get straight into them. Just a little heads up for this story as well, because it does have mention of suicide. Are you ready for the first story? Bought my first house and found out it was haunted. I bought my first house in 2003 and was over the moon. Shortly after moving in, 2 of my neighbours began joking with me about the ghost in my house. Well, I thought they were joking, so I just played along, pretending I'd seen one and it was no big deal. Well, as time went on that summer, I met more and more of my neighbours, and they all brought up the same topic. Finally, an elderly woman on the block, who was quite kind and friendly, told me the story after I asked her. I knew she wasn't going to screw with my head, which is why I asked her in the first place. Turned out, the previous owner purchased the home and never liked it there because she said it was haunted. Sounds in the night of footsteps and sobbing, and glimpses of a man sitting in the kitchen covered in blood. One of my neighbours helped with the renovations of the house and said that he was putting up drywall when he felt something lift up his dreadlocks. Though I've had paranormal experiences before, it had been years, and by then I just chalked it up to night terrors. One day, I went to a small neighbourhood video store to rent a movie. I had to fill out a form with my demographic data and then my credit card info. The owner of the store looked at the form and said, "Oh my God, you live in that house." I asked her what she meant, and she explained that her former employee had committed suicide in my house. She came to the house as soon as she'd heard that the house had been taped off by police as a potential crime scene. She told me that he had just moved into the house with his partner and called his mum because he wanted to invite her over to meet his partner and come out to her. This was in the early 90s, when being gay was a big deal. His mother already knew he was gay because he bought a house with a man and disowned him right over the phone. That same week, he received a letter from an HIV testing centre stating he had tested positive for HIV. This is when HIV was a death sentence. He then sat at the kitchen table, ate a bowl of cereal, and shot himself in the head with a revolver. Since then, she has had multiple paranormal experiences in the store, with videos flying off shelves and even levitating off shelves. The most I have experienced is sounds at night, sounds of Cheerios being poured into a bowl. I don't eat cereal. And sounds of sobbing in the kitchen. I often awaken to both. I remember my grandmother saying, "When the dead come to you, they want something. Perform an act of charity in their name and pray for them." So I did. I sat down at the kitchen table one night and lit a candle and told him that each night I would recite a novena prayer for him before a lit candle. On the 9th night of the first novena to St. Anthony, patron saint of lost souls, I heard uncontrollable sobbing. I felt a strong presence of grief and despair, and the sound of hyperventilating breathing, as though someone could not catch their breath. I sat in that presence of this, knowing it was not malignant, but rather a connection of intimacy and compassion of which he was in need. For 45 days, I said a prayer before a lit candle for his soul, and had a mass said in his name. A few times I had awakened to feel his presence standing over my bed, but I knew it was not an evil presence. This still happens from time to time, but less and less frequently. That is a spooky one. I think I may have covered this story before. And how lovely that the author says a prayer every night. I think there's something very comforting and nice about that. And I'm sure that I would think of doing the same thing. Are you ready for the second story? I have to get this story out. This may be a little long-winded, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, as to not bore anyone. However, this is something I just need to get off my chest. I'll start by saying I'm a skeptic when it comes to practically anything supernatural. I fully believe there's a natural explanation for things that seem unexplainable, even now. The problem is, I just can't seem to think of a logical explanation, not that there isn't one. So I'd like other people to hear it, and maybe someone can come up with a rational explanation. I live in the UK, and it's currently 4:58 a.m. I just can't sleep thinking about it. So this past weekend, me and a couple of friends had decided to venture into some local woodland, like we'd done a few years prior. Life had gotten in the way, and this past weekend was a rarity where we were all free. So we decided, for old time's sake, we'd make the most of it and do it again. The plan was like usual: head in the woods, get a fire going, have some beers, have a laugh, with no distractions, and camp until daylight, head home. Since the woodland was within walking distance, we headed into the trees. I'm the most experienced in the outdoors and was carrying all the camping gear, axe, knife, cooking tools, etc. Another pal, who's as strong as an ox, was carrying all the beers, and my other buddy was just carrying a backpack of snacks and barbecue food. Long story short, I know this stretch of woodland relatively well, and I'd had a place I'd camped at on my own during COVID, and I'd planned to take us all there. I'd found an old wheelbarrow and turned it into an awesome little makeshift fire pit and wanted to get it going again. However, even though I'd followed my previous path, I couldn't seem to find my last little camp spot. It wasn't just the wheelbarrow I was looking for. There is a distinctive Y-shaped tree and patch of clear flat ground in front of it. Pretty unusual in a woodland full of bushes. Anyway, after a while I gave up. It was getting to nearly 6 p.m, so we didn't have loads of daylight left, and I wanted us to set up camp and get some wood cut before we hunkered down. We found a reasonable spot. Nothing like my last campsite, but it would do. Getting the fire going, cracking the beers, the night rolled in. We had agreed to keep off our phones, but kept them switched on just in case of emergencies. However, phone reception was practically non-existent. Around 11 p.m. or so, we had a decision to make: camp or go home. I was happy to stay, so was my other pal, the beer carrier, we'll call him. But my other mate wanted to head home. He didn't fancy roughing it by a fire. Fair enough. I agreed to navigate him out of the woods and come back to my other friend, who I'd told to just keep the fire roaring, so it'll be easier for me to get back. Off we went. It took us a while, but I managed to get us out of the woods. Granted, a little ways from where we entered, but enough for my friend to go alone, as he could see the road. Now I just had to turn back and go back to my friend by the fire. As I was walking back, I figured I was maybe halfway back. I couldn't see any flickering of a fire, but I heard a male voice make a sort of beckoning sound over to my left. It kind of sounded like my friend by the fire, but not 100%. Sure enough, I heard it again. Something told me not to shout back. The voice didn't seem right. I wanted to just get back to my friend by the fire, but at the same time, what if he got nervous being alone and he tried to follow us out and got lost? I kept pushing forward towards where I know our fire was. Every now and again, turning off my headlight, just looking for the flickers of the fire in the distance. Sure enough, I managed to see the faint flickers of a fire, and my friend's torch beaming towards me. His massive frame soon came into view, and he just said my name, with obvious distress in his voice. I said, "Yeah, it's me. Were you just shouting?" By this point, we're both by the fire, and I can see he's shaken up. He said he wasn't shouting, but he thought he heard someone laughing. Strangely enough, from roughly the direction I heard the half-beckoning shout. I just told him to relax. We've got an axe, a knife, machete. He's built like a tank, and I'm 6'1" and fairly broad. Nobody is going to mess with us on purpose, surely. It's likely just the wind. Mind plays tricks on you. Just as we were about to crack open some fresh beers, we heard a loud metallic clang. Same direction. We both bolted up. He had his knife, and I had my axe, and we both just froze looking at each other. Now it was obvious that wasn't wind. We decided enough was enough, filled our backpacks with everything of value. Once we were sure we had everything, we doused the fire and started heading out. I decided the best way would be to go the way I just came from. A bit further from our initial entry point, but I've just come from that direction, so it'll be easy, even in the pitch dark. So we're heading back the way I literally just came from, perhaps 10 minutes before. Then it was just there. The wheelbarrow I'd used years before during COVID. Same rusty hole near the bottom corner, inside charred black with the fire I'd had roaring over 4 years ago. My friend didn't react because he hadn't been this way yet. I'd been looking for this wheelbarrow, so I definitely would have noticed it before, and it was definitely not the campsite I'd been at prior. Then I noticed a black glove just below the wheelbarrow. Looked almost new, and had rubber fingertips just like my friend's, who I'd escorted out no more than 30 minutes ago at this point. None of us touched the glove. We just marched now. My original path out didn't matter. I was just straight line booking it until we got to a clearing. Just as the trees thinned, an almighty metal bang was heard behind us. And I've no shame in admitting we both ran. It sounded like a sledgehammer smashing against something metal. We got over a field and didn't bother finding the exit. We just climbed the fence. Neither of us are small or super athletic, so this really wasn't something we choose to do usually. We found ourselves practically the other side of the woods which we'd entered. We just headed to the nearest street light, and neither of us really knew what to say. It was obvious we were both shaken up. I'd camped alone loads of times. I'm used to funny noises and your mind playing tricks. This wasn't that. Not only that, these woods aren't exactly popular. You never see litter. There's no actual paths or dog walking trails through there. In fact, the only foreign item I've ever seen in there in over 10 years is that wheelbarrow. The first thing I did was call my friend who I'd escorted out originally. Now he was not experienced in the woods. He didn't even have his own headlamp or torch. He'd been using my torch, flashlight for Americans. So the likelihood of it being him playing a prank was non-existent. I called him anyway. He was at home. I could hear his girlfriend even talking in the background. When I told him what happened, he couldn't believe it. He asked me if I picked them up, and I said what, and he said his gloves. He'd accidentally left them at our camp when I escorted him out, but just figured we'd grab them in the morning. I've been meaning to go back and see if the wheelbarrow is there in the daylight, but something just feels off. Even writing this, it feels like something was seriously wrong with that whole ordeal. My friend who experienced it with me is equally as troubled by it. How did that wheelbarrow appear in a path I was just on? How did my friend's glove get there? Who was making the noises? And why? If it was people playing tricks, how were they moving about in the dark with no light? Sorry for the long story. I'm not sure how I could have made it any shorter. There's a definite no to hearing your friend calling you in the woods when you've left them somewhere else. It could be completely mundane, what is happening, some other people are out in the forest. But it was weird how the gloves disappeared from around the fire. Because, the guy who was left there, he would have seen somebody, surely. And he's just spooky. Oh, I love a bit of camping. I just can't sleep outside anymore. Are you ready for the third story? Sleepy laughing at night. Disclaimer, video is not mine. So usually every year I go to a summer camp off-season, every Memorial Day weekend, to help prepare the camp for the summer. It's in upstate New York. I was there this year already. On my first night, in the early hours of the morning, I was awoken by really loud and creepy laughing. It sounded like it was right next to me. and as if there were multiple voices. It was very creepy, but I wasn't up long because I was just too exhausted. The following day, everyone from my cabin and just the general crew at camp were talking about it because we all heard it. The laughing came from barred owls. The video is exactly what I heard, but there must have been several around camp, because what I heard sounded like there could have been 5 or 6 of them. If they were laughing again the next night or my final night there, I must have been deep asleep, because I only remember hearing them the first night. Now, if you get a chance, go and listen to that type of owl. It's freaky, and I wanted to include it because there's just something about the sound of them that, I don't know, it resonated with me. Something very primal about it, and so I wanted to include it. Are you ready for the 4th and final story? We did the Tarzan yell, and something or someone yelled back. This happened in upstate New York around 2008 or 2009. I lived in a very rural area and would rarely go into the woods. One summer afternoon, our group of friends got into a fight, so 3 of us, my friend Jay, my stepsister R, and myself, decided to explore the woods. We hiked for a while and found a giant rock. We climbed to the top of this rock. When we got to the top of the rock, I jokingly told my stepsister, "This reminds me of Tarzan when he beats his chest and yells." She thought that was funny, climbed up to the highest point of the rock and did the yell. It was silent until something or someone yelled it back at us. And then we could hear something crashing through the woods. The 3 of us sprinted out of those woods. We ran down to meet our friends on the Sand Hill Road, who we recently got into a fight with. We told them what happened. They didn't believe us. Keep in mind, we were in middle school at the time, so we convinced them to hike with us to the rock, where the man shouted back at us. They agreed, and there were 7 of us now. We got about halfway there, and there was this very loud humming that seemed to surround us, and we ran back home and never explored those woods again. A few years ago, I looked at the area on Google Earth, and there is nothing but dense woods. Who or what was mocking us?
You're more than just one thing. You're the boss. Hey Google, what time is my meeting with Tim today? The athlete. That class wrecks me. The ringleader. And we're good. And always, their mom. Everyone in. The all-new Mazda CX-5. More to move every side of you. Learn more at MazdaUSA.com.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC. Sequences shortened and simulated.
No 2 businesses run the same, so banking for your business shouldn't be one size fits all. That's why Atlantic Union Bank offers knowledgeable guidance and tailored solutions designed around your goals. Whether you're managing cash flow, moving money, or protecting your business from fraud, we make banking for your business both personal and easy. Call, visit us online at atlanticunionbank.com, or stop by one of our local branches today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
I used to try that Tarzan call. I haven't done it for years. I think I'm going to go up there in the woods in the middle of nowhere and do a Tarzan call. Because just why not? Why not indeed? Takes me back to my youth, because it is something that we don't do out in the woods. And I really like it. Howling at the moon, Tarzan calls through the forest. Well, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone. The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.